This weekend, Special Envoy to the Middle East Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law and demon creature Jared Kushner spoke to a crowd of nearly 100,000 Israelis celebrating the so-called peace deal negotiated between Donald Trump and Hamas to bring a ceasefire to Gaza and release the rest of the prisoners of war, otherwise called hostages. In this video, I will react to portions of this speech with you. Firstly, I'm going to point out that Benjamin Netanyahu is absent. Keep in mind that he is the Prime Minister of Israel. Under normal circumstances, he would be more than happy to take credit for this and speak to the crowd. But Netanyahu is so unpopular that if he were to appear, the celebration would have quickly turned into a riot. This speaks volumes to how deeply fractured Israeli society is. In fact, Netanyahu is so unpopular that when Witkoff tried giving him credit several times, the crowd booed for almost 2 minutes.
To Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Now, you can't hear it very loudly in the audio because the microphone is focused on Witkoff's mouth, but it was obviously enough to prevent Witkoff from continuing with his speech.
To Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, let me just finish my thought.
When Witkoff mentions Trump, however, the crowd cheers and thanks him.
And to President Donald J. Trump.
This clearly indicates how much more popular Trump is in Israel, which could pose an issue for Netanyahu moving forward. Should Trump finally decide to stop being a little bitch, he could exert influence over Israeli decision-making, given how popular he is in the country. Another thing to point out is how Witkoff is celebrating this as a Middle Eastern peace deal.
All of our hearts beating as one, gathered here in Tel Aviv, for peace, for unity, and for hope.
But this seems inconsistent with the crowd, who are obviously celebrating the return of the hostages. There are no signs celebrating peace. Remember, several polls indicated that the majority of Israeli society were totally supportive of the genocide and cared very little about what the Palestinians were experiencing. To Israelis, this was only about the hostages and their dislike of Netanyahu.
Tonight, we celebrate something extraordinary, a moment that many thought was impossible. Yet here we stand, living proof that when courage meets conviction.
Witkoff celebrates this as some sort of monumental achievement. Keep in mind that Hamas offered to release the hostages in exchange for peace back on October 8th, 2023, so this could have ended very easily 2 years ago. Instead, the Israelis decided to commit genocide.
I want to honor the people of Israel. Your strength, your resilience, your unwavering spirit through unimaginable pain and loss. You have carried the weight of hope on your shoulders for the entire world. You've prayed, you've persevered, and you've shown the world that peace is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength.
This is an unbelievable form of gaslighting. Describing Israeli society as hopeful and peaceful or inspirational is simply outrageous, and nobody really buys this. Israeli society has been absolutely atrocious, racist, violent, and genocidal throughout this catastrophe, and have exposed themselves as monsters to the entire world.
This moment was made through the tireless dedication of leaders who would not rest until the world saw what could be achieved. One of them standing right here with me, Jared Kushner.
Okay, I don't get why he's giving Kushner so much credit. It's hard to imagine that he played any serious role during the negotiations. He's been present in the Trump administration for the last 10 months, and he's had no effect on the negotiations. I don't think it's a coincidence that just a week ago, we witnessed massive protests shutting down Spain, the Netherlands, and Italy. So it's my belief that this public pressure, which coincided with the arrival of the largest flotilla to Gaza yet, is what spooked Israel and forced them to put a halt to the genocide. It seems as though Witkoff is trying to position Kushner as some sort of brilliant diplomat for future plans that they might have.
To President Donald J. Trump, a man who is a humanitarian through and through, with the indomitable spirit, who once again proved that bold leadership and moral clarity can reshape history and change the world.
This is a gross mischaracterization of what occurred. There is nothing bold about how Trump handled himself since he inherited the genocide from Biden. Trump gave Israel everything it needed to slaughter Palestinians and starve them to death. He nearly started a world war over Iran and has been a cuck to Netanyahu this entire time.
In the worst of times, In the worst of times, he refused to accept the idea that peace in the Mideast was out of reach. He brought together nations once divided by generations of conflict and showed us that shared peace is stronger than shared pain.
Israel has literally bombed Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, Iran, Qatar, Palestine, and humanitarian aid ships in Tunis and international waters, all under Trump's watch.
History will remember that when others doubted, President Trump believed. He is the greatest president in American history, and we're here because of him.
Wow, the greatest president in U.S. history. That's a reach. He may be the greatest president in Israeli history, but definitely not the U.S.
And now, from the depths of our hearts, we honor the families of the hostages. Each and every one of you have carried the moral weight of this nation. Your courage has moved the world and has touched me in ways that I have never been touched before in my entire life.
Witkoff honors the families of the hostages, but he has zero words to say about the people slaughtered by Israel in Gaza. It's an unreal level of dehumanization.
To the hostages themselves, our brothers and sisters, you are coming home.
Our brothers and sisters? Isn't this guy supposed to be an American? How the hell is he brothers and sisters with Israeli genocidal occupation soldiers?
As you return to the embrace of your families and your nation, know that all of Israel and the entire world stands ready to welcome you home with open arms and endless love.
I don't think the world really gives a shit about the hostages. What do you think, though?
We remember the heroes and the innocent souls who are no longer with us. Those who were taken from us on that terrible, tragic day, October 7th. And those who have given their lives since then in defense of freedom and their nation, in defense of this country, Israel, in defense of peace.
Witkoff is literally praising genocidal soldiers who lost their lives committing war crimes in Gaza.
October 7th for me was a shattering day. My wife and I were at a friend's wedding in Colorado, and I remember hearing the news, and I just went to the hotel room, and I was looking at videos and trying to speak to whoever I could to get information, and I just stayed there all night, and I cried.
Jared Kushner, a so-called American, cried when Palestinian refugees struck back at the genocidal entity stealing their land and their lives for the last century. Let that sink in.
To see their families get the closure they deserve and to end this nightmare. And also to see the suffering end for the people in Gaza, who, for most of them, were experiencing this through no fault of their own, other than being born into a situation that was horrific.
Okay, I don't believe this to be authentic from Kushner whatsoever, but at least he mentioned the people of Gaza. Witkoff didn't.
I couldn't be more proud to see the way that the state of Israel and its people have carried themselves through this traumatic, unthinkable, horrific experience. Instead of replicating the barbarism of the enemy, you chose to be exceptional. You chose to stand for the values that you stand for. And I couldn't be prouder to be a friend of Israel, somebody who supports Israel, and somebody who fights very strongly to see Israel survive, succeed, and to achieve its fullest potential.
Unfucking believable. Israel didn't replicate the barbarism, they far exceeded it and committed atrocities the world couldn't even fathom as being possible.
And just the final thing is, I just want to thank the amazing soldiers of the IDF. Without their heroism and brilliance and bravery, this deal would not have been possible.
Disgusting, shameful, unacceptable.
So really an honor to be with all of you tonight, and I'll introduce my wife who wants to say a couple words.
Thank you, Kushner. And thank you, Steve.
All right, this is weird. Why the hell does she refer to her husband by his last name? And then she refers to Witkoff by his first name. What the fuck?
The return of each hostage is not only a moment of homecoming and relief, it's a triumph of faith, of courage, and of our shared humanity.
For there to be shared humanity, Israel would have to be humane. They have shown us how utterly disgusting they are over the last 2 years. They are genocidal Jewish supremacists. That does it for this reaction video. I want to know what you think. Now, I want to give a very special shout out to these followers who contributed to my channel with super comments. Every single contribution helps me do my work, so thank you very much for all that you do. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. As you guys know, we are obviously shadow banned. Thank you, and take care.
Trust nothing.